I interviewed Mr. Pollack, a World War II veteran. Mr. Pollack was on his way to pick up a girl for a blind date that his brother had set up. He was just 16 and a sophomore in Downers Grove High School. He heard the news over the radio as he was driving. It was shocking to him as it was to the rest of the country. Nobody, not even the soldiers stationed at Pearl Harbor, saw the attack coming. Mr. Pollack's whole family was affected by the war. He was the youngest of 8 children. Him and his 5 brothers all took part in the war. Some were drafted and some were enlisted. His oldest sister was brilliant and the first woman lawyer in Downers Grove. She had a private practice and had to give it up to work for the government as a lawyer. Everybody at that time was working towards the war effort. The whole world was at war. Every family had a relative in the war, so you couldn't ignore it. The war effort included civilians, people who were not in the military service, people like kids at home and their moms. Families grew food in their front yards because food was scarce. There was rationing, which meant you could only buy so much of an item. For example, a family may only be able to buy meat once a week, and women could wear nylons because they used the nylon for parachutes. If you owned a car, you may not be able to buy new tires because they needed the rubber for the war. Mr. Pollack could only attend school for half a day so that he could run his family's auto wrecking business the other half of the day. At just 16, he learned how to work the books, make deposits, do payroll, and cut cars apart. This was a lot of responsibility. His family business also had a part in the war and sent parts to the military. When he graduated high school a few days after D-Day, he started his 7 weeks of military training. Mr. Pollack said it was an all-out effort, and everybody was involved in the war. During his training in Florida, there was a hurricane. Mr. Pollack was caught in the hurricane for 3 days and was trying to stay warm next to a raging bonfire. He was severely burned, and this injury would affect him for most of his military service. The infections on his feet were so bad that he had to keep an extra set of socks with him. The infection would make his feet ooze and soak his socks. Ouch! Due to his injury, he started his service as a clerk typist, which kept him out of danger until he was told to join the 10th Mountain Division in combat. This was a prestigious group of very talented and intellectual skiers. His job was as an ammunitions bearer. He would carry the ammo to the cannons and machine gun operators. Mr. Pollack said that the war was not glamorous and that you were always tired and hungry. Every day was a new adventure, and he learned a lot from his experience. After seeing and talking to him while he wore his 10th Mountain Division golf shirt and his ball cap with pins of the medals he has been awarded, you can tell his experience is part of who he is. He was awarded the Combat Infantry Badge, which is the long blue one on the top. This was awarded to infantrymen who faced the greatest risk of being wounded or killed in action because you are so close to the enemy. Mr. Pollack loves talking about the war with kids and visits my mom's class every year to tell his story. He said all of these years later, being a soldier, you don't forget. Mr. Pollack said the best memories were his friendships with the other men he served with. He remembers many funny moments. He told me a story of how he was shipped kosher salami from his girlfriend and that he was looking forward to eating it after his shift on guard duty. When he headed back to his bunk, he realized how quiet the men were. This was unusual because the soldiers were never quiet. Someone was always talking. The joke was on him because they had eaten the entire salami and had only left the ends. Mr. Pollack remembers a very scary situation in a transport vehicle. He was bending over to give another soldier a piece of his candy and heard a loud sound. It was a bomb, and shrapnel, which is metal from the bomb, hit the soldier who was reaching for the candy. Blood was gushing everywhere. They asked Mr. Pollack if he needed to go to the infirmary. He said no because he didn't feel like he had been hit. As it turned out, his glasses that were in his front pocket over his heart had been hit in the middle part. He was a very lucky man. The other soldier ended up living, but his eye had been torn out. Mr. Pollack was emotional telling this story and said, "A fraction of a second could have changed everything." Mr. Pollack, thank you for letting me interview you, and thank you for your service.